welcome back to Riding the Pine. This is our review of Game 15 of the 2021-2022 Chicago Blackhawks season. Tonight, the Blackhawks picked up their fourth win on the season with a 2-1 victory over the Arizona Coyotes, improving their record to 4-9-2 on the season. But before we get to the review, please do me a really big favor and hit that like button and subscribe down below if you have not done so already. It will help us out a lot, and you will never have to come looking for us. We will come looking for you, as we will be, or you will be notified every time that we upload a game day review video, as well as any other ancillary videos that will be uploaded. Also, leave a comment down below. I did see some of you commented on some videos wishing me good health. I appreciate it. And yeah, much appreciated. Like I said, I think I'm pretty much 100% back or close to 100% as I get built back up here. So yeah, I'm glad to be back. We got our second review of the season here in game 15, and let's get to it. So let's start. I want to start off actually with talking about ESPN Plus. So Joe and I last season actually had talked about where we were going to see the Blackhawks and the NHL's TV contracts. That was something that we were wondering about. And the NHL signed two TV contracts, American TV contracts during the offseason or late last season. And one of them was with Disney, who owns ESPN and Hulu. Disney is now the sole owner of Hulu after purchasing 20th Century Fox. It's been about a year or two now that has been finalized. And Turner Sports and Turner Broadcasting was the other TV deal. So that is your nationalized games that show up on TNT, TBS, etc. I think some games will show up on USA. But part of the deal when they made the deal with Disney is that NHL Center Ice or NHL.TV or, either or, depending on what you purchase, would no longer exist in America. That would be replaced by all out-of-market games being available on ESPN Plus. And NHL Center Ice and NHL TV used to be, depending on the season, somewhere between like $150 and $175, I want to say. I know I had both. I started with Center Ice. I think that may have been the better deal just simply because you could pay it in payments on my cable bill. And then after I cut cable 2 years ago, I had switched to the NHL.TV, and you would just log into your NHL app on either your mobile device or your television, and you would just pick the game that you wanted to watch if it was an out-of-market game. That obviously doesn't exist anymore. Now we have ESPN Plus. ESPN Plus, I believe, is $6.99 a month individually. It is offered as part of a Disney Plus bundle, I think they're calling it, or a Disney bundle. You can get Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus for something like, I think it's around $70 a month. And again, this is just my opinion now, but as someone who, in my view, was late to cutting the cord, once I did, it was one of the smartest decisions that I have to tell you, it's one of the smartest decisions, best decisions I've made, where I don't have to worry about a cable box anymore. I don't have a bunch of wires everywhere anymore. All of that's been taken care of. As part of that process is I had my TVs mounted. So even my USB, HDMI, all my cables are now run through my ceiling or my walls. Anyway, so I have no cables exposed, nothing like that. Streaming, in my opinion, is absolutely the way to go. And if for nothing else, just for the price, I can't tell you what my package was in Chicago. I did live in Chicago for several years. I had a basic package at that time, as I was going through law school. And and the only reason I had it then was to watch sports. And I think even then, it was like almost $100 a month, I want to say, for like a basic package. And that was mainly due to all of the fees that Chicago has, whether that be amusement fees, whether that be taxes, whatever it is, they got enough fees to kill you. But back here, where I live now in Western Illinois, I was paying about $150 a month for Dish. We didn't have cable. I kind of live out in the boonies, a little bit farther out from the metro area. And we weren't able to get cable. We had to get either DirecTV or Dish. Dish is what we had. And it was $150 a month. And I would continuously get problems. WGN eventually was completely shit canned because we were determined to be outside of the suburbs of Chicago, in the viewing area of Chicago. So instead of getting White Sox, Cubs, Blackhawks games, we just got the WGN America shit, which nobody wanted. We did get NBC Sports Chicago, but after, I think even NBC Sports Chicago ended up getting into a contract dispute with DirecTV or Dish or both of them. And it was at that point I just made the decision that I don't watch regular TV hardly ever. The only thing I watch on TV is sports. So it wasn't worth it to me anymore. So I cut the cord and got rid of it. And this is before the Disney bundle, because Disney Plus wasn't a thing yet. But I got Hulu, and I added HBO to my Hulu subscription. And honestly, I think I think my Hulu and HBO, it cost me $80, something like that, a month for the regular cable TV, all of the channels that I was getting with cable: NBC Sports Chicago, ABC, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, Disney, FX, USA, Sci-Fi, all the normal cable channels. I get HBO, and that includes HBO Max. Without HBO, I think it would be like 65 or $70. And then I added, of course, Disney Plus. I got a year of that for free with Verizon when they launched it. Now it's $7 a month. I've got Netflix. Netflix is like $10 a month, and now I've got ESPN Plus. Altogether, I'm spending about $100 a month, maybe with taxes. At most, I'm spending $110 a month. So I'm saving with streaming $40 a month, and I have more stuff than I did when I was with Dish. Okay. I have all of the same channels I had before, including the locals like NBC Sports Chicago. I got ESPN Plus, and I got Disney Plus and Netflix, all that stuff. And here's the thing. So I've seen a lot of people today complaining, and I know that was a long intro to get to the hockey review, but I think it's important. That's my experience with streaming. If you haven't cut the cord yet, this is my public service announcement for you to cut the cord. It's time. There's no reason for you to be paying all of those amusement taxes and all of that crap to cable companies. There's no point in it. But going to ESPN Plus. So as part of this television deal, you get all of the out-of-market games for the NHL, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't even know because I really only watch hockey. Other than I used to watch the Cubs, but I don't watch the Cubs anymore because Marquee Sports Net isn't on anything but cable. So there you go. Great job, Ricketts. Anyway, and I have to say, my experience prior to tonight with ESPN Plus was fantastic. So you get every game. So if you have a second favorite team, or if you have a son or daughter, or whatever, you yourself, if you have a second favorite hockey team other than Chicago that you want to go and watch, say Carolina, you can watch the Carolina games on ESPN Plus, every game for $6 a month or whatever it is for the year. I don't know what it is for the year, but it's $6.99 a month for the monthly price, which is what I do. It's simple. And the other good thing is say there's a Carolina Hurricanes game on, like there was tonight. I believe they played the Flyers. If they're playing, but you want to watch the Blackhawks game or vice versa, you can watch one game however you choose, whether it's, on ESPN or NBC Sports. And then you can go onto ESPN if it's Carolina or, if you live somewhere else, wherever, and watch the other team because the games are saved on the app. So if you don't catch the game live, it's on the app. That doesn't, it's not like DVR where you have to have, so much storage or the cloud or whatever. No, it's not like that. ESPN just has their own servers and the games are automatically saved on their servers. So if you want to, I'm pretty sure you can go back and watch the Stanley Cup final from last spring, summer. I'm pretty sure they did have, when I first got the app, the Montreal Tampa Bay Stanley Cup final. All the games were on there. The other thing that you can do on the app, say if you're watching let's scratch that. Let's just say you're just a hockey fan and Toronto is playing Boston and you want to watch the Maple Leafs and the Bruins. When you select that game, you can choose, do I want to listen to the local Toronto broadcast or do I want to listen to the local, listen and watch, I suppose, the Boston broadcast? You have the choice, which is one of the great things about the app. Now, you could do this before with NHL.tv or NHL Center Ice, but I think a lot of fans didn't purchase NHL Center Ice or NHL.tv because you had to pay like $200 up front, 150 whatever, somewhere in that range up front to get the games. That's a lot of money for some people that are, especially now with inflation through the roof and gas prices through the roof. That's a lot of money to be throwing up front. Whereas at $6.99 a month, I mean, look, and here's the other thing. I've seen a lot of people complaining about ESPN and Plus and not wanting to spend $7 or the $6.99, whatever. Let me tell you something. If you don't have $6.99, if you're a fully functional adult with a job, even a college student for that matter, and you don't have $6.99 a month to dedicate to ESPN Plus, which gets you all sports, not just hockey, but all sports coverage, but at least in the terms of hockey, which I assume if you're listening to me blabber on right now, you're a fan of hockey. It literally gets you every game that is outside your blackout area. So, like, if you live in Chicago, you get every game from every other team that's not the Blackhawks. If you live in Boston, you get like every game that's not Boston or New York, that's not blacked out regionally. So, I mean, it's a great for $7. That's a trip to McDonald's. Okay, to get that amount of content and that volume of content for $7, you can't even go to the movies for $7, which is, a 2-hour excursion on a weekend. A movie ticket today is like, for a matinee, is like $10. And that's not popcorn, that's not soda, that's nothing. And for $7, you get every hockey game outside your regional market that's not blacked out, which, as I said, is basically every team outside your market. You can watch all of their games if you choose. And if your team is playing on a night they're playing, you can go back and watch the game. It's still there. And again, you can choose which broadcast you listen to of the two teams playing. It's a great deal. And I told everybody tonight to sign up for it and bite the bullet. Just, you'll like it. Just listen to me. You'll thank me later. And then the game happened. And it was Leah Hextall and Dominic Moore on the broadcast. Now, the game feed did not line up with the audio. It was not sunk up with the audio. I had numerous people complaining to me on Twitter about that. I'm sorry. I've seen Dominic Moore before on hockey broadcasts, but he's always been in studio. He's never been a commentator. And he was providing color tonight. And I have to tell you, I couldn't even pay attention to him providing his color because Leah Hextall was playing the play-by-play, and I couldn't hear a fucking word she said. Because for one thing, and I do love this, that they've got the ice mic'd so you can hear, players talking, you can hear them yelling, you can hear the skating from the blade cutting up the ice. That's excellent. Sticks, all of that. That's great. Problem is when you got Leah Hextall, who's a nasally voice and high pitched, and she's talking 100 miles a minute, and over that you have bang, bang, ice, bang, no, and you've got all that stuff going on from ice level while she's commentating. It was literally, I might date myself here, but for those of you who have seen the Peanuts animated shorts from the old Peanuts newspaper cartoons, there was a teacher that would do wah, 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 wah. And that's basically what the entire broadcast sounded like tonight. It was wah, 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 bang, wah, 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 except in a female voice. And I have to tell you, ESPN, and then on top of that, and I have seen this, and this has always been awkward when I've seen it before. I've watched, again, like 3 or 4 games that are outside the Hawks this year on the app. And whenever there's like a rule question, they go sort of like the NFL does. They go to their rule guy Well, they haven't been able to like link up like wherever he is to their broadcast because it's always awkward when they cut to him. It just doesn't work. So that's something that they're going to have to work on for sure. That said, I feel so bad for telling everybody to go and get the app because that broadcast was atrocious tonight. Atrocious tonight. Yes, I caught myself. I did say atrocious. You guys can maybe make that a t-shirt, but I'm talking about atrocious. It was horrifically bad tonight. And I'll tell you what, as I talked about the other night, there's been a lot of, let's just say, difference of opinions among a lot of things going on in Blackhawks world the last few days and weeks. And tonight, everybody was in unison together. We all came together, both Democrat, Republican, independent, woke people, women, men, all of us. We all came together and we said, this shit is terrible. It was like the whole first, like after the first period, I went and searched the Blackhawks hashtag, and I shit you not, literally every tweet on Twitter was about how awful the broadcaster was and how awful the play-by-play was. The whole timeline. You had maybe like out of like 30 tweets, you'd have like 2 that were about the actual gameplay. Everything else was about the broadcast. So ESPN Plus, ESPN, if you're listening to me, you owe me an apology, and you owe everyone else that I told to go and sign up to your service an apology. And I would think, I don't know, this is the first time the Hawks have been on an exclusive ESPN Plus game. So that's clearly when everyone's going to be checking out the Hawks on ESPN Plus that's in the Chicago area, because obviously of the blackout restrictions. So I have to tell you, Chicago is your number one hockey market in the country. I know a lot of people will argue with me and say it's New York, or they'll say it's Minnesota or whatever. But I'm talking about as a hockey market franchise success in recent times, it's Chicago. Chicago is your biggest market. And holy Christ, did you fuck this one up? Sorry if you've got kids listening. I do swear sometimes. I try not to, but it does slip out. But seriously, talk about screwing the pooch. My goodness. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that before we got into the review because I felt like it needed to be addressed. It was something that everybody was talking about on Twitter, to the point that the beat writers at the game noticed that's all people were talking about was how awful the broadcast was. So ESPN, Disney, do better. You've already ruined Star Wars and everything else. At least get your shit together and give me a good NHL broadcast. But honestly, I do believe in the app. I think it's a good deal for the value. I still recommend all of you get it, regardless of how awful tonight was. I still think it's worth the $7 a month. That said, let's get into the game. So, perhaps another thing that didn't help the broadcast is that really until about the end of the second period, maybe the last 6 minutes or so, this game was boring. Boring. First period was scoreless. I mean, hang on a second. I'm going to take a swig of water here. Okay. So it was boring. And honestly, for the Blackhawks, boring might be a good thing right now because they need to pick up wins. Get into the second period. At the 5:26 mark, Alex Debrincat scored with the Royal Road pass from Patrick Kane and Riley Stillman. Beautiful pass by Patrick Kane here. And also just carrying actually from his own end all the way into the offensive zone before he made the Royal Road pass to Alex Debrincat, which seems about the only way they score anymore. This goal was challenged, and nobody seems to know challenged for what. The speculation is that they were challenging whether the puck was touched or not by the Coyotes, because there was a delayed penalty on the play. And the broadcast team and their rule guy said that that can't even be reviewed. It's a non-reviewable play. And then Dominic Moore, I think, like the rest of us, said, well, if it's not a reviewable play, then why are they reviewing it? That's kind of the night that it was tonight, right? If you watched the game on the broadcast and had to endure the awfulness that was the broadcast, and then you have something like that goes, well, it's a non-reviewable play, but they're reviewing the play. What? That doesn't make sense. But it worked out in the Blackhawks' favor. The goal stood, which they ended up getting a power play out of. Unfortunately, they didn't score. And then towards the end of the second period, Dylan Strome took a 4-minute double minor for high sticking. And then Lyubushkin came in and very stupidly shoved out of nowhere. Like the play had been dead for a good 5 seconds. And Lyubushkin just came in and shoved Dylan Strome down to the ice, which then created a mini scrum and got himself a 2-minute penalty, which really hurt the Coyotes because they were going to get a 4-minute double minor out of it. Anyway, poor Arizona for making a stupid play like that. We come out of the break and start the third period. A minute and 41 seconds in, former Hawk Andrew Ladd scored his 3rd of the season. Now, Andrew Ladd, I don't even think played a hockey game last year. Let me look. I know in New York, he was sent down the year before. But I'm pretty convinced that last year he didn't play at all. He didn't play in the AHL or the NHL. And if he did, it was like 1 or 2 games. Let's see here. Yes. Andrew Ladd played a whole 1 game in the AHL Bridgeport last season. Now he's the assistant captain of the Arizona Coyotes, and he has 4 points in 13 games. Not bad for not playing at all last year and being 35 years old. When's his birthday here? I know he's 35. Yeah, he'll be 36 a month from yesterday, actually. Or actually a month from today. That's December 12th. So he will be 36 in a month. So happy belated birthday to former Chicago Blackhawk Andrew Ladd, former 2010 Chicago Blackhawk as well. I wonder if he was bum rushed by any activists today. I highly doubt it because they probably don't even know he was on the team because they're that dumb. But anyway, yeah. So even though the Hawks gave up the lead and the game was tied, in a way, I was kind of happy to see Ladd get on the board there. He's had a rough go of it basically since he left Chicago in 2016 after the Hawks reacquired him for the playoffs for, what was it, 20 games or so he played. And then something strange happened. So about midway through the period, Kirby Dach takes an elbow to the face. There was no penalty on the play. And he had a bloodied up lip, mouth, something like that. I don't know if he lost any teeth or not, but he had a bloodied up face. And he went off. And those of you that follow my Twitter and that I don't remember if I brought this up on the last game review or not, but if I know I've brought it up continuously on Twitter again, apologies. I haven't been doing reviews. This is only the second one so far this year, but we're back to doing them every game. Dylan Strome needs to play between Patrick Kane and Alex Debrincat. He just needs to. And Kirby Dach was out of the game, right? Because he was bleeding and needed to go out. So Dylan Strome was moved up between Kane and Debrincat. Dylan Strome draws a penalty. Dylan Strome then, not only did he replace Dach on his top line between Kane and Debrincat, he also replaced Dach on the power play in the bumper roll. Not the bumper roll. Well, I don't know if he was in the bumper roll, but Strome was in the slot, and Kane dangled in along the end boards and gave him a nice little pass. Dylan Strome snuck it 5-hole on Wedgwood, and the Blackhawks had a 2-1 lead. So in about a span of 2 minutes, the move that I've been begging this team to make for several weeks now, in 2 minutes, Dylan Strome draws a penalty and then scores the go-ahead goal and what would turn out to be the game-winning goal on the power play. And how is Dylan Strome rewarded? As soon as Kirby Dach's back out onto the bench, Dylan Strome is re-demoted to the third line. Why? You've been struggling to find offense all this time. You finally got it. And then, nope. I don't know. From what I saw, the post-game comments on Twitter, because as far as I'm aware, it wasn't broadcast on NBC Sports. Nobody asked. Our wonderful activists did not ask about Dylan Strome playing with Kane and Debrincat. No one thought that would be apparently no one thought that would be a good thing to ask Coach King. Anyway, moving on. There was another play. Let's talk about Dominik Kubalik throughout the third period. Dominik Kubalik hit the crossbar. And then he had another breakaway, and he was stopped. He tried to go 5-hole on Wedgwood. Now, I have, for those that follow me, you know I don't like Dominik Kubalik. I think he's a one-dimensional player. I said in the last episode, I think ironically this has probably been his best season because he's playing defense. But because he's actually playing a two-way game now, he's not scoring as much. So I jokingly tweeted to the Daily Herald's John Dietz, who thinks Dominik Kubalik is worth $6 million. For point of reference, that's basically what Alex Debrincat is making. I tweeted, I said, jokingly, I said, would you pass Dominik Kubalik $6, please? You know, would you pass the $6 million man $6? Maybe that'll get him to score. Then we'll get the W. Well, based off Kubalik's misses, I'm going to assume John Dietz did not give Dominik Kubalik $6. I just thought that was funny. After I had made the joke just to give a dig at John Dietz that Kubalik's been struggling. Kubalik gets 2 grade A scoring chances and doesn't score. Proving my point that he's not that good of a player. Anyway, um, Henrik Borgstrom had just come onto the ice with his line and was skating from the neutral zone down, carried the puck into the zone, and had a good cross ice pass just in front of the crease to Mike Hardman. And I have no idea how Wedgwood stopped the puck. It was just luck. He had kicked his leg out and got a pad on it, and Mike Hardman was robbed of a goal. But that was a nice play. It was a nice shot by Hardman. It was a great play by Borgstrom to carry the puck in. And that's that depth scoring and depth opportunities that the Blackhawks need more of. Because, you know, I go after the top scorers, right? Because they're not putting the puck in the net. But it also goes to the bottom six. Because if the bottom six was playing more dangerous like this, the other team would have to pay them more mind, right? Which theoretically should open up the ice a little bit for the better stars. Anyway, let's talk about Marc-Andre Fleury. I thought he was good tonight. I thought may have been one of his better games as a Hawk. Picked up his third win of the season. He finished with 22 saves on 23 shots, 957 save percentage. I believe he was a 955 in his win against the Penguins. So this was a much needed 2 points for Chicago. Obviously, the Coyotes are not a good team. So this was a much needed 2 points. The Blackhawks pulled into a tie for, I believe, sixth. Is it sixth? Yeah, sixth place with the Dallas Stars now. Dallas does have one game in hand, I do believe, but they are, I believe. Let me just make sure I'm not pulling your change. Let me pull up the standings here. I do believe it is one game in hand. And no, excuse me, it's 3 games in hand. Either way, with 3 games in hand, Dallas and Chicago are now tied for 6th. The Blackhawks are 1 point behind the Colorado Avalanche for 5th. And the Avalanche have 4 games in hand on the Blackhawks. A lot of this will be made up here as the Blackhawks have a pretty substantial break coming up in the next few. Well, I think they play 3 times in the next 10 days, something like that. It's not a lot. So we'll see what happens there. Next game is against Seattle. It is also a must-win game for Chicago if they're going to get back into this. Seattle has played 1 game fewer than the Hawks, and they are at 4-9-1, so basically the same record as Chicago. So big game against the expansion Seattle Kraken coming up. Blackhawks 3rd win in a row, looking to make it 4 over Seattle. And after that, the schedule gets a little bit more daunting. As I believe the Edmonton Oilers, who have the best record in the Western Conference, are the next game a week from tomorrow on the 20th. And then on the 21st, they play the Canucks. The 23rd, they got the Flames. Those are going to be 3 big games. You want to have at least 2 wins out of those 3 games, because then you've got the Blues coming up. I assume this is Black Friday, the 26th. That's got to be Black Friday, right? So that'll be a big game. But the Hawks need to win 3 out of their next 4. That would give them, let's see, they've won 3 in a row, and then that's another 7. So that would get them at least 500 in their last 10 games. they can lose to Edmonton, but they have to beat Vancouver, they have to beat Calgary, and they got to beat Seattle. Doesn't matter how they do it, whether it's in overtime or not. Obviously, you'd rather have it be in regulation, but they got to do it. They got to get points. They got to get back into this. If they can do that, that would improve their record in those, was it 4 games? Yes. So in the next 4 games, if they win 3 out of 4, which is doable, if not all 4, but again, Edmonton is playing very well. If they can win 3 out of their next 4, their record will improve to 7-10-2. That puts them back in the playoffs, the hunt, at least. If they can win 3 out of their next 4, they'll be. I'm confident that puts them back into at least the wild card discussion, which is necessary. And again, I've said repeatedly, this is a team that has a good roster. There is no reason this team should be where they are. And they'll be close to 500. Like I said, they'll be 7-10-2. They'll be 3 games under 500. And considering they were 1-9-2, that's a big deal. And I want to mention this too, because nobody else is talking about this. And I mentioned this before the season started. The Blackhawks haven't played hardly any of their division. They've played Nashville once, they've played Winnipeg once, and they've played Arizona once. Did they play the Blues yet? I can't remember. Let me go back and look here. Yes. October. So they've played, and they've played Colorado, the opener. So they've played most of the division. They haven't played Minnesota yet, and they haven't played Dallas yet. They've played everybody else. They played Nashville and won. They've played Arizona and won. They played the Blues and lost. Played the Jets and lost. Played Colorado and lost. And that's the problem. The Blues, the Jets, and the Avs are all teams that are competing with them for the 3-4 spots, the 1 through 4 spots. The good news is the Blackhawks are beating the teams they're supposed to beat in the division. They beat Arizona, they beat Nashville. They're supposed to beat those teams. They just got to start beating the better teams. And hopefully, as the confidence builds here, we'll get to that. Anyway, again, this was a must-win game against the horrible Arizona Coyotes, probably the worst team in the NHL. Hawks barely get the win, but they get it. And at this point, I think it's all about building confidence. The Hawks need a blowout win. Obviously, they blew out Ottawa. But they need another blowout win. So, again, if they can win 3 out of their next 4 and they can go, that would also put them on out of 8 games, right? That would put them, or 7 games, they'd be 6-1 in 7 games with King as coach. If they can do that and have a blowout win, I think that would be instrumental for the team. And also something I haven't talked about tonight. I did talk about it the other day. The defense is greatly improved ever since Colleton was fired. Potentially the biggest reason this team hasn't lost yet. The defense has been significantly improved. Significantly. The 2-on-1s, the odd man rushes, those aren't happening, if you've noticed, which is what was pushing the games out of Like the Hawks had no prayer. They had no prayer. The games weren't close. By the end of the first period, they're down 2-3 goals. It's over. This team does not have the offense to do that. It is vitally important that the Hawks continue to get defense to play like that, because that's where all their top end talent really is. It's on their back end. That's going to be what carries them this season. And they've got to figure out how they can score more than 2 goals a game. This is a rarity. This winning 2-1, that doesn't happen in today's NHL. You're not going to win many games that way. Also, their face-off numbers were brutal. Kirby Dach, 20%. Your first line center, 20% at the face-off circle. Now, you wonder why I talk about putting Dylan Strome in between Kane and Debrincat. That's a good reason why. You want Kane and Debrincat with the puck. Look, you want, just go back 5 years, 6 years to Kane and Panarin with Anisimov. Anisimov's sole goal was to win the faceoff, get Kane and Panarin the puck, and then go stand in front of the net and let Kane and Panarin do their magician tricks out on the ice with the defense. That's the goal. And if you add Seth Jones to that now, you've got even another weapon out there, a mobile, puck-moving defenseman. There is no reason, none. Let me reiterate this again. No reason Kirby Dach should still be centering those two. 20%? Are you shitting me? And not only are we at 20%, but we're at 20% against the worst team in the NHL. Enough. If you're hell-bent on keeping him at center, fine, but move him down the lineup. And by doing so, call up Lucas Reichel and Alex Nylander. Why are we still playing this game? Like, I don't understand what we're doing here. Anyway, with that in mind, I am going to sign off for the evening. Again, in review, some final statistics. Everything was in the Hawks' favor with exception to the faceoffs. Hawks outshot the Coyotes 29-23. Power plays, Coyotes went 1 for 3, Hawks were 1 for 5. Blackhawks out hit the Coyotes 35-20, and the Blackhawks had more block shots 13-12. Again, boring game for the most part. Got exciting at the end. Hawks pull it out. They pick up 2 much needed 2 points, improve to 4-9-2 on the season. Our very next game will be the inaugural matchup between the Chicago Blackhawks and the expansion Seattle Kraken. It will be the first ever meeting in Seattle. We'll get to see the new Climate Pledge Arena. I believe the game is going to be on TNT. It's a nationally televised game. So let's look forward to that. Let's see. Again, as I said, much needed win. You got to get 2 points against Seattle. Let's get this winning streak to 4. And until next time, everybody, please stay safe. I know we got snow, or at least pretty much throughout the state, I believe. It didn't stick here. I'm assuming it didn't stick in Chicago either. But the weather is turning, so make sure you are paying attention out on the roads. Make sure you're dressing appropriately. You don't want anybody getting sick, especially with the Nazis that are running the state currently. And take care of everybody that you know, your friends, your family. Seriously, again, I've said this before, but as someone who is in my 30s that lost my parents at a young age, that had no siblings, it means a lot when your friends check in on you and you check in on them. And with everything going on right now, everybody needs it for their mental health. So please check in on each other, love each other, be nice to each other. And until Wednesday, I believe that is the next game. It is Wednesday. The Chicago Blackhawks again will face the expansion Seattle Kraken. A wondrous 9:00 start. So make sure you're well rested Wednesday. And I will talk to you all then. Again, you can follow me in the account on Twitter at Riding the Pine 21. If you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. We need to get our subscriber count up. We need to hit 1,000 subscribers before we can monetize our channel, so we can help. I'm not doing this for money, but I am putting money into this as I do it for fun. So when we can get, and I understand, I really want to get this to video, and we will get there. I promise. The audio is improved. The graphics have improved. All of that stuff is there. But again, as a hobby right now, I cannot justify putting more money into this until we build the audience and build up the channel. So again, please like the video if you haven't, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It helps us out a lot. We're a Blackhawks fan base. We're in this together. Eventually, I want to bring more of you on to take calls and do all that stuff when we go live once we build this up. So again, please, I thank all of you for sticking with us. But again, please support us and continue supporting us like you have been. And again, I'm rambling, so I'm going to go. I'll talk to you all Wednesday evening, or I guess Tuesday morning with Wednesday's review. Have a good weekend, everybody.